All right, so we love to go deep. And you sent over this book, Homo, Monkey, and Cyborg, and it's got me thinking
Yeah,
it's a fascinating title.
it is, and quite provocative, I think.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And it's really making me think about where we are as humans right now with technology, with kind of the future of humanity, and are we really in control, or are we just kind of these monkeys with these fancy gadgets?
Right.
You know?
And that's really what struck me when I first started reading the book, is how much it challenges our perceptions of ourselves as this, rational species at the pinnacle of evolution.
Right.
Are we really as in control as we think we are?
When, even the idea of like bullshit jobs.
Right.
Like he talks about this concept and he cites this survey where something like almost half of the respondents felt that their jobs were essentially meaningless.
Yes, and I think most of us have probably felt that way at some point.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
In our career.
Absolutely.
And so he connects this to our primate heritage. So, think about chimpanzee societies.
Yeah.
They're constantly jockeying for social status and power.
Right.
And he argues that, a lot of these kind of meaningless jobs in our society actually serve a similar purpose.
Interesting.
They're about maintaining these hierarchies.
Oh, wow.
And giving people a sense of belonging, even if the work itself might not be all that
Fulfilling or meaningful.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like we've created these elaborate systems to just satisfy our primal urges in a way.
Yeah, and I think that's a thread that runs throughout the book, is this tension between our biology, our evolutionary past, and the kind of
the world that we've created.
The world we've created, exactly.
Yeah, it's a very complex world.
Yeah, and so, even when you think about things like, our relationships, the way we form bonds, love, marriage, he questions, are we truly making free choices, or are we just acting out these scripts that are based on our biology and, social conditioning?
So are you saying we don't have free will?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think, the book delves into this concept of free will, quite deeply. And he suggests that while we may have this illusion of choice, our decisions are heavily influenced by these ideologies.
Interesting.
That act almost like operating systems in our minds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you think about things like capitalism, religion, political systems.
Okay.
These are all very powerful narratives
Right.
that shape our thoughts and behaviors, often without us even realizing it.
It's like we're programmed almost.
In a way, yes. And I think, we've all had those moments where, we felt pressured to conform to certain expectations, whether it's, what career path to pursue,
right,
how to behave in social situations, even what to believe in.
Yeah.
And so it's like these ideologies become these invisible forces that shape our reality.
And, it makes me think about, like, even the time period that we live in.
Yes.
Like maybe the beliefs that we have, the things that we feel strongly about. Are they really our own? Or is it just a product of the time?
Yeah, and he uses this very thought-provoking analogy in the book.
Okay.
He compares individual intelligence to what he calls the intelligence of civilizations.
Interesting.
And he brings up this concept of zeitgeist.
Okay.
The defining spirit or mood of a particular period in history.
Right.
And it's almost like we're all swimming in this ocean of collective beliefs and values, and it takes a real effort to step outside of that.
Right.
And to think for ourselves,
to
really question those dominant narratives.
So you're saying that our most deeply held beliefs even
could be
just a product of,
of the time
that we live in.
The place we live in, exactly.
Wow.
And he argues that true critical thinking, the ability to really question those narratives and to form your own independent judgments, it's actually quite rare.
That's a scary thought.
It is.
Yeah.
And this leads into another really mind-bending concept that he explores in the book, which is panpsychism.
Panpsychism.
Have you ever heard of this?
I'm not sure that I have.
So this is the idea that consciousness might not be limited to humans and animals, but it could actually exist in everything.
To like plants.
Plants, even inanimate objects.
Like my coffee cup?
Potentially, yes.
Wow.
And, he draws on some pretty interesting ideas from information theory and physics to kind of explore this.
Okay.
So he talks about John Wheeler, who's a renowned physicist.
Okay.
And he proposed this idea of it from bit, meaning that everything arises from information.
Okay.
And he also discusses the work of Melvin Vopson, who theorizes that information itself actually has mass and energy.
Whoa, okay, so this is getting pretty complex.
It is.
But so the idea is that information is somehow fundamental to consciousness.
That's one way to think about it,
Right.
yeah. And he uses the example of dreams to illustrate this.
Okay.
So think about it. Every night, you create this entire simulated world within your own mind.
Yeah.
Full of characters and emotions and experiences.
That's true.
So what if our waking reality is just a different kind of simulation?
Oh, wow.
Like a cosmic dream that we're all sharing.
Okay, my brain is starting to hurt a little bit, but...
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It is. It's a lot to take in, but it's fascinating.
Yeah. And then he goes on to talk about, the potential future of humanity.
Okay.
And specifically this concept of transhumanism.
Okay, so this is where humans merge with machines, right?
Yeah, essentially becoming cyborgs.
It's a sci-fi movie.
It sounds like sci-fi, but he argues that this could actually be our destiny.
Okay.
Given the limited lifespan of our planet and the challenges that we're facing, climate change, resource depletion, he suggests that merging with technology might be the only way for humanity to survive.
To survive long term.
In the long run, yeah.
Wow, so...
That's a pretty heavy thought.
It is, and it raises all sorts of ethical and philosophical questions.
Yeah, like what does it even mean to be human at that point?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What happens to our sense of self, our values, even our souls, when technology starts to interface directly with our consciousness.
Yeah, are we still in control?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and he doesn't just raise these questions.
Right.
He also looks at how this transhumanist agenda is already being advanced.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and this is where things start to get a little bit unsettling.
Okay.
Because he points to the role of militarization in driving this trend.
Interesting.
The desire to create super soldiers to gain, strategic advantages on the battlefield.
Right.
Is pushing the development of these technologies.
Wow.
That could fundamentally alter, human capabilities.
So it's like an arms race.
In a way, yes, but it's not just about bigger bombs. It's about
augmenting
humans.
Human intelligence and abilities, exactly.
Yeah, that is scary.
Yeah, and he even goes as far as talking about the possibility of AI being directly implemented into our brain.
Oh.
Yeah, and he cites the work of Joscha Bach, who's an AI researcher, who suggests that there might be what he calls a conductor in our brains.
A conductor?
Yeah, like a central point that creates our sense of self-awareness.
Oh, wow.
And imagine if we could enhance that with AI.
That is both fascinating and terrifying.
It is.
I don't know if I want that.
Right.
So we've got these monkey brains living in a potentially simulated world, and we're on the verge of merging with machines.
It's a lot to take in.
It's a lot. I need to sit with this for a minute.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Picking up on this theme of control, the book really dives into this concept of the Great Reset. And it seems to suggest that, whether you see it as a real conspiracy or just a collection of, policy proposals, it's this idea that they're trying to bring about a new era where things like individual liberties might take a backseat to things like, global health and security.
It's like we're sacrificing freedom for safety?
In a way, yeah. It's kind of painting this picture of a future where,
It sounds a bit dystopian.
It does, yeah. It has that kind of Orwellian feel to it.
Yeah.
And it even lays out some potential steps involved.
Like what?
That are quite unsettling. So it talks about things like, restricted travel. Digital vaccination passports becoming a requirement. Even the existence of isolation centers.
Whoa.
For those who don't comply.
That's pretty intense.
It is, yeah. It makes you question, are we really trading our freedom for this illusion of safety?
Feels like a slippery slope.
Yeah, and that's the point the author seems to be making.
Okay.
Is that, fear is being used as a tool to manipulate the public into accepting these increasingly authoritarian measures.
But is this Great Reset really happening, or is it just a conspiracy theory?
Right, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And, the book doesn't present it as a definitive fact.
Okay.
But it does delve into the history of these pandemic preparedness simulations.
Okay.
Pointing to events like Dark Winter back in 2001.
Right.
Event 201 in 2019. And these events eerily foreshadowed many aspects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
So they were kind of like practice runs.
In a way, yeah. It's like they were preparing for something that they knew was coming.
Okay.
But, the book raises concerns about, the potential for these simulations to be used to shape public perception.
Oh, interesting.
And to influence policies.
In a way that benefits them.
Exactly.
Okay, so now we're really getting into, like, the conspiracy theory realm.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about the bioterrorism angle?
Right.
Does the book suggest that COVID-19 was intentionally released?
So the book doesn't make any definitive claims,
Okay.
but it does explore the possibility
Okay.
of, a bioterrorist attack being used as a trigger
Right.
for a global crisis.
To kind of get things moving.
Exactly. And that this crisis could then be used to justify implementing these
The Great Reset.
the Great Reset measures.
Okay, wow.
It's a lot.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we entertain this idea of the Great Reset as a potential reality for a moment, who's behind it?
Right. So the book doesn't point to specific individuals.
Okay.
But it talks about, a complex web of actors.
Okay.
So it mentions global financial institutions, tech corporations, influential figures within organizations like the World Economic Forum, the UN.
So not necessarily one evil mastermind.
Right.
But kind of this network.
This network of powerful entities with potentially converging interests.
Yeah, okay.
And the goal, according to the book,
Yeah.
seems to be to establish this new global order, this technocratic system where power is concentrated in the hands of, a select few.
And this ties back into transhumanism.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to see how it all connects.
Yeah, they control the technology.
Right.
And eventually they merge us with it.
Right.
They gain control over, our very thoughts and actions.
That is scary.
It is a chilling thought.
Okay, so it's not all doom and gloom, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
The book offers some glimmer of hope, some ways to resist this potential dystopian future.
Okay, what are they?
So it emphasizes, the importance of critical thinking.
Okay.
Questioning everything we're told, refusing to be swept away by fear and propaganda.
So kind of reclaiming our autonomy?
Exactly. Reclaiming our autonomy, connecting with our inner selves,
Okay.
building communities based on empathy and cooperation.
So it's not about giving into fear and paranoia,
No.
but about empowering ourselves.
Exactly.
With knowledge.
Knowledge and action.
And action.
Okay. It's about remembering that, even in the face of these seemingly overwhelming forces,
Right.
we still have the power to choose to resist and to potentially create a different future.
I like that.
And a key part of that is tapping into the power of our own consciousness.
Okay, so it's not just about fighting the system externally.
Right.
But it's about changing ourselves internally.
It is, yeah. And he talks about things like meditation, mindfulness, connecting with nature as ways to break free from the mental programming that keeps us trapped in the system.
So it's like a spiritual revolution almost.
In a way, yeah. It's about reclaiming our minds and finding that inner strength and clarity.
But how do we do that practically in a world that's so noisy and distracting?
Well, he draws on a variety of sources, from ancient spiritual traditions to modern psychology.
Okay.
And he suggests that, by quieting the noise of the external world and cultivating that inner awareness, we can start to see through the illusions.
The illusions that
bind us and tap into our true potential.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
What about the people who are already so entrenched in this system?
Yeah, the people who might not even realize that they're being influenced. How do we reach them?
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
And I think the book suggests that trying to convince others, or force them to see things differently is not likely to be effective.
Right.
Instead, it's about leading by example.
Okay.
We embody the values of compassion, empathy, critical thinking in our own lives, and hoping that our actions will inspire others.
You kind of wake up.
To question the narratives they've been fed.
Yeah.
You can't force someone to wake up.
Yeah.
They have to choose to open their eyes.
It's a point.
And the author seems to believe that lasting change can only come from within, from a genuine desire for truth and freedom.
Right.
But the challenge is we still have to live in this system while trying to resist it. We still have to pay our bills, interact with institutions that might be part of this, Great Reset machine.
Yeah, so how do we navigate that?
Right. It's like walking a tightrope.
It is.
And the book acknowledges those challenges.
Okay.
It encourages us to find ways to minimize our participation in structures that we find harmful,
Right.
to support alternative systems and communities,
Right.
to engage in acts of resistance, however small, that align with our values.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance between living in the world,
But not letting it.
but not letting the world dictate who we are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is a lot.
It is.
It's monkey brains simulated reality.
It is.
Technocratic dystopia.
Yeah.
And then we have to find our own inner compass.
It's a lot to process.
It is. Where do we even begin?
Well, the book suggests, starting with self-reflection,
Okay.
asking those fundamental questions about who we are, what we believe,
Okay.
what kind of world we want to create, examining our own conditioning,
Okay.
questioning the narratives we've been fed, and starting to make choices.
That align with our true selves.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's a journey of self-discovery,
It is.
but with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance.
It's, no pressure, right?
Right. No pressure.
But ultimately, I think the book offers a message of empowerment.
Okay.
It reminds us that even in the face of these daunting challenges,
Right.
we still have the power to choose our own path.
Okay. Well, that's a good place to stop for now.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We've gone from monkey brains to simulated reality
It's a lot.
to the Great Reset.
It is a lot to take in.
And next time we'll come back and talk about what the book suggests we do about all of this.
Exactly.
Okay, sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. All right, so we're back. We've covered a lot of ground. Monkey brains, simulated reality, transhumanism, Great Reset. What is the book's kind of overall takeaway message?
Yeah, the book leaves us with this sense that even while grappling with all these huge ideas, about technology and the future of humanity, we shouldn't forget the importance of connection.
Right.
This journey of self-discovery that the author is kind of inviting us on.
Right.
It's not meant to be a solo mission.
Okay.
The choices we make, the actions we take,
Right.
they have ripple effects.
Okay.
They influence those around us,
Yeah.
and they shape the reality that we all share.
So it's like we're all part of this big
We are.
cosmic play.
Yeah, exactly. We're all characters in this massive cosmic play,
Right.
and we each have our own unique role to perform.
I like that.
And the book emphasizes the power of community,
Okay.
connecting with like-minded individuals, supporting each other
Yeah.
as we navigate this path of, awakening and in some cases resistance.
So what about the people who are actually,
Right.
working towards this Great Reset?
Mm-hmm.
The people in positions of power? Are they all villains in this story?
Well, that's where the book takes a more nuanced view.
Okay.
It suggests that many of those who are promoting these ideas,
Right.
they might genuinely believe
Okay.
that they're acting in humanity's best interests.
So they think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, they might see these measures as necessary
To fix things.
to address these complex challenges, climate change, economic instability, the rapid pace of technological disruption.
So it's not so black and white.
It's not,
As, good versus evil.
right, it's not that simple.
It's more about, different visions of the future.
Oh, exactly.
You
Different ideas of
different ways of understanding
what it means to be human.
our place in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly.
And I think the real battle,
Yeah.
according to the book, is a battle of ideas.
Okay, battle of ideas. So
Right.
how do we engage in this battle of ideas
Right.
without, creating more division and dogma? Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? Because it's so easy to slip into that
It is.
us versus them mentality,
Right.
especially when things feel so polarized.
So how do we avoid that trap?
Well, the book stresses the importance of empathy,
Okay.
even towards those that we disagree with.
Even the people that we think
Even those who hold views
are the bad guys.
that we find abhorrent because, trying to understand their perspectives,
Okay.
their motivations, why they believe what they believe,
To see where they're coming from.
can help us find common ground and build bridges of understanding rather than walls of separation.
So having those tough conversations.
Yeah.
But from a place of
Exactly. Open hearts and a genuine willingness to listen.
Yeah.
That's hard.
It is. It's a tall order.
Yeah, especially when you think about,
Right.
power dynamics.
Yeah.
Are we really on an even playing field when we're talking to some of these people
Very valid point.
who hold so much power? Yeah. And the book acknowledges, that those power imbalances are a real challenge.
Right.
But it suggests that by raising awareness, speaking truth to power, building movements and communities that challenge the status quo, we can begin to shift those dynamics over time.
It's like a grassroots revolution of consciousness.
It is, and I think that's really the author's hope. The belief that by empowering individuals, fostering critical thinking, cultivating empathy and compassion, we can create this ripple effect that will eventually transform our systems and structures.
So what happens if we fail? What if this great reset that the book describes actually happens?
Well, even while acknowledging that possibility, I think the book reminds us that, the fight for freedom, autonomy, and human dignity would persist. The human spirit is resilient. Hope can flourish, even in the darkest of times.
That's a good message.
So it's a message of both urgency and resilience.
Urgency and resilience.
Exactly. It's a call to action. A reminder that the future isn't predetermined. We have the power to shape it. But we need to act now. With both wisdom and courage. It's a lot.
This book really has given us a lot to think about.
It has.
I mean, it's challenged our assumptions. It's pushed us to think critically. And it's really left us with this sense of both the potential dangers and the incredible possibilities that lie ahead.
It's a thought-provoking read for sure.
It is.
And I would encourage anyone listening to check it out, Homo, Monkey, and Cyborg, and, see what resonates with you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
I think we all learned a lot.
I think so.
And I mean, I guess the takeaway message is that the future isn't set in stone.
It's not.
We each have a role to play in shaping it. So keep questioning, keep learning, and keep choosing the world that you want to see.
I love that.
Until next time, stay curious.
See you then.